Welcome to Brand Lover, honest, real, and lively conversations for flourishing entrepreneurs and budding business owners on a mission to cultivate a heartfelt brand that connects with their purpose-driven mission. My hope is that you walk away feeling inspired and refreshed with a weekly takeaway in your back pocket that you can apply to your life or business. I am often asked when I am interviewed for podcasts or chatting with other business owners, what is a branding tip or a couple of branding tips that small business owners can execute straight away? Quite honestly, I find this a very difficult question to answer because branding as a topic is so broad, and the misunderstanding and misconception around branding means that the expectation of the answer that they're expecting from me is quite often different, and it's challenging to shape an answer that is going to give a small business owner a quick win when it comes to their brand. Branding as a process, as an in-depth process, is put on the back burner so often by small business owners because it feels hard and it seems elusive. The misconception is that your brand is your logo, but your logo is just the icing on the cake of this very in-depth process. And if you've listened to this podcast before, you will have heard me say that, and you will hear me say it 1,000 times again. You really need to intimately understand your brand and align it with the most perfect candidate for your offer so that you can really present that powerful impression that you are seeking, that really exciting, proud, confident feeling that you want when people are clicking on your website or when you're creating a social media graphic in Canva. Like, it should be fun, it should be exciting. You should just know that your brand assets reflect where your brand is going and how you help people. Impressions count. Many business coaches out there will tell you that you don't need a brand, but you're actually creating a brand when you start communicating your message with people, because people, no matter who they are, will start to form an opinion around your content and around their interactions with you and the offers that you're putting out, and they will start to shape a feeling. Your brand is literally a gut feeling. So this is why impressions do actually count, both, visually and however else you can communicate your brand with your copy, etc. And I'll get to that in a minute. Because the quickest way to fast track a lead, which is, somebody who is a potential buyer to purchase from you, is via trust. So for a human to genuinely trust a brand, they need to feel safe. It's just like in a dating relationship, your brand needs to be consistent in its behavior and also in its presentation, in its visual aesthetic. It needs to look the same, sound the same, feel the same to establish a strong connection and association of trust with your audience. Imagine it's as if you're dating somebody. If their behavior is erratic and they say one thing but they do another, or they rock up to dinner in muddy boots and a singlet at a fancy restaurant, that's akin to your brand showing up in a way that is lackluster or doesn't, if it doesn't fill you with confidence in how you're presenting, it's certainly not going to instill confidence in your audience. So this is why branding is so important. It actually makes you sales. So back to this question that I get so often, and I got it last week, and this is what prompted this podcast topic. One branding tip that a small business can execute straight away. So Because of my natural inclinations and skill set, mostly people, when they ask this question, they're expecting me to say something in relation to design. And while design is an important aspect in presenting your brand in a professional and appealing way, the question should be more around, how can I design my brand strategically to send a clear, concise message that appeals to my ideal customers? So take the time to learn about your brand, to dig deep. Sometimes we have to slow down to speed up. And especially if you are in a stage of change or evolution in your brand, sometimes we just have to put the brakes on for a little while so that we know exactly what direction we need to take next. You need to truly understand why you're here and who you serve, because the more specific you can be, the easier it will be to show up for your brand in that particular way. So once you have the essence and the personality of your brand cemented, invest in the big three. So the big three are visual design, imagery, such as brand photography or product photography, if you're a product-based business, and your copy. So your copy is, in relation to your brand voice and tone of voice and language and that sort of thing. So your copy would be, for example, your website copy or copy for your promotions or flyers or that type of thing. So these are the holy grail of communicating your brand. Once you have got these in place, once you have been through the brand process, foundation, establish your strategy, and then investing in these holy grail of branding, you can then show up consistently and confidently and frequently. It doesn't feel heavy anymore. It doesn't feel scary anymore. Obviously, it takes some practice and some dedication and some discipline. But once you know that your brand assets are truly aligned with where you need to go and singing all the right notes to lure your perfect customers, that's it. It doesn't have to be a question anymore. It doesn't have to be something scary. It doesn't have to be something that you're always questioning and you're not sure about. It is that clarity that will then give you the confidence to invest in these three things. So if you are ready to take the time to intentionally examine your brand, go and download my free branding success blueprint, and it will help you to understand the steps that you need to take to uncover the answers to the questions that you are potentially seeking about how to establish a really strong brand that's going to stand out in a saturated marketplace. So if you have any questions or feedback about this episode, please let me know. If you're subscribed to my email list, reply to one of my emails or come and say hi on Instagram, Rachel Writer _brand mentor. I'd love to hear from you. That's it. Have a beautiful week. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this week's episode of Brand Lover, take a screenshot of wherever you're listening and share your biggest takeaway on Instagram or Facebook, and don't forget to tag me. I'd love to give you a shout out and thank you personally. Also, feel free to subscribe and leave a review to help the Brand Lover podcast reach more heart-aligned entrepreneurs just like yourself. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.